The desert sun beat down on the cracked pavement outside Miller's Auto Repair like a relentless judge, watching every struggle without mercy. Sarah Mitchell wiped grease across her brow with the back of her hand, leaving another dark streak on skin already weathered by years of heat and hardship. At 34, she carried the posture of someone much older, shoulders tight with responsibility, eyes sharpened by constant calculation. Inside the hood of a dying pickup truck, she fought a stubborn timing problem for a neighbor who could barely afford to pay her. Still, she worked without complaint. Inside her chest lived a habit of sacrifice she could never silence. The garage had once been her father's kingdom, a kingdom of rattling tools and oil-soaked floors. When his heart gave out, he left behind debts, memories, and an inheritance of struggle. Sarah took it all without hesitation. At night, she returned to a tiny rented house where her daughter Emma pretended not to notice the dust, and her son Tyler pretended not to notice the bills taped to the fridge. Rent, power, water, food, every month was a chess match against loss. Sometimes she won by only a single dollar. Sometimes she lost quietly and hid the tears until late. That afternoon, while the engine ticked and the heat shimmered, Sarah felt something shift inside her. Not hope yet, but the ache of possibility. She did not know it, but an abandoned house buried in desert silence had already begun to change her life. The county auction flyer curled on the office wall like a forgotten promise. At first glance, it meant nothing, just another list of broken furniture, rusted tools, and tired land. But the final line struck her like lightning. Main ranch house sold as is, 15 acres. That night, long after the children slept, Sarah opened her battered laptop and searched. What filled her screen made her breath catch. The Flying W Ranch, abandoned for decades, half-collapsed, and whispered about in town the way people whisper about graves. Even stranger was the history buried beneath the dust. The property had once belonged to John Wayne, the Duke, a myth carved into film and legend. She stared at the pictures of sagging roofs and shattered windows, seeing past ruin into bones of beauty, stone fireplaces, thick adobe walls, wide desert views. It was madness. She had barely $1,400 to her name, yet the thought would not loosen its grip. By Saturday morning, she found herself sitting in a quiet courthouse room with a numbered paddle in her hand and fear pounding behind her ribs. When the opening bid fell at $500, the room went dead silent. One by one, wealthier buyers stepped away. The gavel struck. The ranch was hers. In that moment, Sarah felt terror and triumph collide. She had not bought a house. She had bought uncertainty wrapped in dust and desert myth. Still, as she sat in her truck holding the keys, she whispered aloud, "We're going home." The ranch rose from the desert like a forgotten skeleton, beautiful and broken all at once. Wind moaned through shattered windows as Sarah stepped inside with her phone light trembling ahead of her. The silence felt layered, heavy with years of neglect and unspoken things. Room by room she explored, tracing scarred walls and collapsed ceilings, her exhausted mind measuring what could be saved. Then in the kitchen, beneath a stained old rug, she found it, the trapdoor. Wood scraped, hinges groaned, and cool air breathed up from underground. A basement in the Arizona desert was rare enough. But at the bottom, built directly into the rock, stood something that made her heart seize, a towering steel safe. Not a lockbox, a vault, the kind meant to protect fortunes and secrets alike. When she told her children that night she had bought a house for $500, Tyler cheered and Emma studied her with the careful suspicion of a girl who had learned too early how fragile money was. "What's wrong with it?" Emma asked. Sarah didn't mention the safe. Some truths felt too large to shape into words. She only said, "It needs work, so do we." That night Sarah barely slept. The image of that steel door followed her into every dream. Locked things had a way of calling to her. She had spent her life prying open broken engines, broken months, broken chances. The safe was different. It did not want force. It wanted time. Locksmiths refused her one by one. Old men whispered about bad energy. Younger ones joked until they saw the vault and fell silent. Finally, a specialist tried and failed. "This thing was built to bury time," he said. Then Sarah found Marcus Webb in a nursing home on the outskirts of town, a man who had once worked the ranch when John Wayne still walked its floors. His memory flickered like a candle in wind, fragile, sudden, then burning bright. "He built that basement in secret," Marcus said softly. "He trusted almost no one near the end. That safe mattered to him." Days turned into nights of research, of letters hidden in walls, of old photographs whispering fragments of a man terrified of being forgotten. One draft letter to Wayne's daughter became Sarah's compass. Trust the numbers we shared on your 16th birthday. Birthdays, sunrise times, personal meaning disguised as math. In the basement, her hands shaking, Sarah turned the dial again and again until at last the deep iron heart inside the vault clicked. The sound echoed through stone like a verdict. When the door swung open, light spilled onto an impossible fortune, film reels, gold bars, handwritten scripts, artifacts from the creation of legends. Sarah fell to her knees. She did not scream. She could not. The weight of it crushed the air from her lungs. In one moment, her life divided itself neatly into before and after. Experts arrived. Appraisals climbed higher and higher until the numbers themselves sounded unreal. Hundreds of millions wrapped in history and gold. Security cameras went up beside cracked windows. Locks screamed where once only wind ruled. Then the lawyers came. The estate wanted it back, offered $2 million as though tossing crumbs onto a mountain. Sarah said no. The town exploded with opinion. Supporters cheered her as proof that luck sometimes kneels to the broken. Others named her a thief. Someone slashed her tires. Someone painted her garage with hatred. Emma came home with a bruised eye after standing up for her mother. Tyler stopped sleeping through the night. Each threat carved a deeper question into Sarah's chest. Was she protecting her children or placing them in the line of fire? At night, she lay on the couch with a shotgun nearby, listening to desert silence sharpen into menace. The fortune had arrived like a miracle and grown teeth overnight. Still, the ranch waited. So did the vault. So did a man long dead who had hidden pieces of himself beneath stone and sand. The world framed Sarah as either villain or hero. Inside, she felt only fear wrapped tightly around fierce love. The legal battle grew teeth of its own. Injunctions, hearings, media storms that made truth feel optional. Reporters camped beside the garage. The children were pulled from school. Phone calls arrived from strangers who suddenly remembered being family. Every night, Sarah stood in the ruined kitchen of the ranch and sewed hope into broken walls, one quiet promise at a time. She began patching roofs, clearing rubble, turning collapse into order with stubborn hands. This place, cursed or not, was hers, and it was slowly changing, just like her. Emma painted her future bedroom a careful blue. Tyler claimed the old porch for his fortress of imagination. Against all reason, the ranch began to heal with them. Yet the safe remained untouched after the first inventory, as if Sarah feared claiming it fully might break the fragile balance she had built. Money no longer frightened her. What frightened her was becoming someone she didn't recognize. The past kept testing her with temptations shaped like solutions. Every gold bar glittered with choice. Every lawsuit pressed her closer to surrender, and still she stood. The hearing came like a desert storm, violent, swift, public. The estate argued legacy. Sarah's attorneys argued law. Cameras devoured every expression she tried to hide. In the end, the judgment split the treasure. A settlement forced the sale of certain historical items to be preserved in museums. The rest remained hers. Enough wealth remained to secure her children's future 10 times over. When she walked out of that courthouse, she was neither defeated nor triumphant. She was simply exhausted. Months later, the garage reopened. New equipment, fair prices, steady paychecks for neighbors who once pitied her. The ranch turned into a home where laughter finally felt louder than fear. Money filled the gaps, but it did not define the shape of their days. Sarah still cooked simple dinners. Emma still complained about chores. Tyler still believed the porch held secret kingdoms. The vault no longer haunted her. What haunted her was memory of a time when survival was measured in dollars and silence. She had crossed into another life without ever leaving herself behind. That was the miracle. Years later, under a repaired roof and a wide desert sky, Sarah often stood at the edge of the property at dusk and listened to wind moving through mesquite and memory. She had learned that treasure does not always arrive wrapped in gold. Sometimes it arrives disguised as risk, as ruin, as a door in the floor you are afraid to open. The fortune changed their circumstances, but struggle had already shaped their character. Emma grew into a woman who defended what she loved without apology. Tyler grew into a man who believed broken things were worth fixing. And Sarah grew into someone who finally understood that survival by itself is not living. The day the safe opened did not save her. The years she had endured before it did. Money built walls and futures, but resilience built them first with bare